Hello, folks. Welcome to Between Awesome and Disaster. This is your host, Will Carey. I appreciate you being here. It is good to be back behind the mic, recording an intro. Where have I been? The thing I've been thinking about the most these last few weeks, the more accurate question may be, where haven't I been? And since I've, to answer that question, I have been around the world. I just came back about a month or so ago from an incredible trip back through Japan and then a weekend in Seoul, South Korea with my wife and some friends. We had a great time, saw some incredible things, met some amazing people. In Tokyo, dived into a world I had heard about, but had never really experienced. Nothing shady, very late 30s kind of pick, but I found a great listening bar in Tokyo that I now love and will be at every time I'm in that city. If you're not familiar with the concept of a music bar or a listening bar, is what they're called over there, it's essentially a very chill, relaxed bar that has a DJ curating a evening of music spun on vinyl records. And it was one of my favorite places to hang out. And I wish every place I hung out had a DJ curating the vibes, as they say. And when I say they, I mean myself. That was a pretty amazing. That was a pretty amazing time. Also, and these are going to come up at the end of your pop punk wrap up when I talked to Paul, my friend Paul Cohen. But I did catch two Green Day concerts of their Japan tour while we were in Japan as well. Saw them in two different cities. Saw them in Nagoya with just me and my wife, and then saw them again in Yokohama, which is the Tokyo show. Yokohama's a little outside of Tokyo, with my wife and then my friends Paul and Mike. And when I say these are two of my favorite times seeing Green Day, these are like top tier concert experiences outside of just the unique atmosphere, the lovely audience. I made some really met some really lovely people at the Nagoya show from Nara. Met some really nice people at the Yokohama show, where I wore a soccer jersey that was exclusive to the North American dates of the Savers tour, and they were really excited because they wanted to know if it was available there, and I told them unfortunately no. But the just love and excitement for music that I experienced with the people around me at these two shows was really something I'm going to carry with me for a long time. And also, again, very much showing my late 30s here, but the concert experience in Japan is so perfect. The show starts exactly. Actually, the opener goes on when the ticket time is, which is unheard of in North America, where ticket time is doors and then the show starts an hour later. Show starts when the ticket says. The opener, the opener for these two shows was this crazy awesome punk rock band named Autobato Beaver from Kyoto. Super crazy riffs, tons of hardcore like punk energy. Loved them. They go on when the ticket time says. They play for 45 minutes. Then Green Day come on, play 2 hours, and the Nagoya show ended at 7:30, and the Yokohama show ended at 9:30, and we're back near our hotel with a bag of with a bag of McDonald's from Japan. Which, again, I know this sounds incredibly lame because, yes, I ate tons of great Japanese food and tons of great local food in Japan, but there is something to the experience of a big sack of McDonald's after a concert in Japan as well that I find uniquely enjoyable as well. And I love a concert that ends early, especially on a weeknight, and I wish to do more shows like that. Speaking of concerts that I'm excited about, I want to tell you guys, my band Skiplag is going to be playing two really cool shows in the New York City area very soon. We are going to be April 19th, we will be back at the Shillelagh Tavern in Astoria, Queens, joining my new friends in the Badass Mother Fuzzers, who are flying all the way from France for this show. So make sure you check that out, along with Mitch Kramer from Connecticut, and Hopeless Otis will be closing out that show. And then this is something I really want to shout from the highest mountains. June 7th, Skip Lag will be playing at Pianos in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And I will have link to tickets in the description because I want to sell that bad boy out. We're going to be playing with Hopeless Otis, my friend Aaron's band Suburban Surf Club, and Something About Ghosts, our new best buds who we've played quite a few shows with. Pianos, June 7th in New York City in the Lower East Side. Get tickets at the link in the description. I have never played a sold out show before, and I want this to be the one. So if you are in the New York City area, I would appreciate you coming out. And then let's also get into who my guests are on the show today. I am talking again. My buds in the band All Systems Go are back on the show. We recorded this before the release of their newest EP, Finding Closure, which is available now everywhere you get your music. I've known All Systems Go for a few years now. They've appeared on the show a couple of times. They are a band that has gone through a lot. They have experienced the death of a member, and this new EP really finds them grappling with that in a way that they really haven't since it occurred. And this new EP is fantastic. If you like punk rock and pop punk that has that sort of rock and roll edge to it, this is the band for you. They are out of the New Jersey area, and I love these dudes so much over my times getting to meet them. This was also my first chat and appearance on the show of their new bass player. So if you enjoyed this, go check out their new EP, Finding Closure, everywhere you get your music, and I will talk to you afterwards. Let's get into it and talk to All Systems Go. I'm incredibly appreciative of your band and Matt in particular, because the last time we talked, I wasn't playing music. I was aspiring to play music again. And now this time around when we're chatting, now I feel like I'm chatting as like a podcaster who's also in a band. And I'm tremendously appreciative of the bits of advice and information that you guys have given me in terms of the Philadelphia alternative music scene and punk scene. So thank you, Matt.
You're welcome. We try our best. It's a tough world out there.
Oh, it is. Oh, it 100% is. And I know we've talked about this before, but just the sheer miracle that is just a group of people getting on stage to play for people for like a little bit of door money or maybe merch money. Just the sheer miracle to get to that stage is insane. It makes me wonder how bands like Slipknot can have like 9-something people and continue to stay together.
Yeah, like schedule practices and schedule performances and all that nonsense.
Yeah,
with 9 people. Oh.
But the one thing I do want to ask you, only because I'd love to hear this story, because I think the last time we talked, you guys had just gotten a new bass player, and this is my first time meeting him. So I want to hear this story of how you guys came to meet Dick, which I'm assuming is his government name. I'm assuming that's his government name. So.
As he makes weird faces into the camera.
I'm glad you started with that question, because I'm like, this guy what is he doing over here?
I was sort of like that was sort of my impetus for like, okay, how that happen? Did you? So I'm curious. Dick, did you reach out to them, or did they find you? How did you come to join All Systems Go?
So long story short, I met the guys years ago when my podcast at the time was doing interviews and like a stream show during COVID.
Okay.
We just all happened to like hit it off and become friends from there. So after a while, I started getting bass lessons from the former bass player, Dean. And then unfortunately, he passed away.
Right. Yeah.
In 2023. And then so after that, I was just checking in on the guys a bunch, making sure they're all good. And next thing I know, I think it was Devin texted me and was like, "Hey man, you want to join the band?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, you're literally my favorite band." Like, yes, please, So not even a thought no thought went into that. Automatically just yes, I want to join All Systems Go. Please, thank you.
Nice. What was your podcast called? Do you still do it?
No, absolutely not. It was called Talk of the City. Very, 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 very raunchy comedy podcast.
Gotcha. Like that's sort of like Two Bears, One Cave sort of vibe.
Yeah, that sort of, I hope my employer never finds this type vibe.
You can always tell the podcasts that where someone has a job that they care about, because the tone is always is different. Like if you're when your job's just the fans, then you can just like go for it. They expect it, but
yeah.
And was it just you, or did you have a co-host?
Yeah, so it was basically co-hosted by the original members were me, this dude Nick, Ryan, JR. After that, JR kind of took a step back, and it was me, Nick, and Ryan for a while. But yeah.
And you didn't play bass. You had started learning bass from Dean, and then so you didn't like play music growing up. So bass was a later thing in life for you.
So it's a weird thing. I used to play in a little bit in like high school, right? But I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing, a bunch of like finger exercises all the time, like, like trying to play Iron Maiden and messing up really badly, that kind of thing. But I kind of took a step away from that. I stopped listening to music for years, actually. Like it's been a running joke with the ASG guys and like everyone else, where it's like it's pretty ironic that like I went from like not listening to music to being in a band. But yeah, I put it down for a while. I picked it up again shortly before I started getting lessons from Dean. And then yeah, now I'm in a band with some of my favorite musicians. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Dick was also in a band called Jima that we played with a bunch of times. So we also were at shows like with Dick, as we met him as someone in another band too. In addition to him being a big fan of ASG, so it was really, really cool. We already all knew him really well.
Gotcha. He's essentially like one of the crew already. You can skip the like nice to meet you stage. You could just skip right to the like let's make some music, bro stage. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much.
There's kind of like a reason for that too. Will, you know the band Parkway Drive, metalcore band, Australian.
I sure do.
They had this documentary about how they came up basically in the metalcore scene to like one of the mainstream bands. There was a point where they were like DIY touring in Europe. Like they didn't have a manager. They just had a booking agent that was literally like the night before putting them on random shows. And that was how they like lived their life essentially for like a year.
Whoa.
And their bass player had to leave the band because he was having a kid. So they didn't know what to do at first. And I think one of their friends who used to do a bunch of merch for them, either do like merch or like just watch the table or something like that. Not a musician, aside from being able to like hold a guitar and play a couple chords. They asked him if he wanted to be their new bass player, and he was just like, "All right." And they were like, "Yeah, we'll teach you." And their reason for that was kind of like, we just needed a friend at the time. It was kind of like like anybody could have joined their band. You know, they were up and coming and stuff. It literally anybody could have like looked the part or whatever. Like with Dean passing, we've only ever had like we met Dean like just through the internet basically and like playing a show with him before, but like it was one of those things where it's like All Systems Go has only ever been like 7 people max, and the people that aren't in the band anymore were people that we have known since we were like kids. So like it's one of those things where it was like we just need a friend right now. And even still, like Dick had never played bass with a pick at all before, and the first time we sat down, I'm gonna be honest here, Dick. The first time we sat down and like kind of started going over the music and stuff, Dick missing all the strings, missing all the notes, not playing on time like whatsoever. He left, and then me and Devin was like, "Oh no," and I'm like, "We'll take this week by week." Dick, like I know Dick works hard on practicing music. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Parkway Drive did it. Why can't we? We'll be fine. And then now, like the most recent practice that we've had, you would not have been able to tell that he did not know how to play with a pick before. Like the transformation in the past year has been like incredible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because Dick, you're just like locking in. Like it's got to get done. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think what got me like good at bass even like before ASG, like I was playing fingerstyle, right? I think what really got me good was literally just my work ethic. Like I'm awful at like my ears terrible, like, so I kind of had to learn like, okay, well, to get as good as I want to be, I have to put in like twice as much effort. Like, you can ask like Matt, like I was on vacation in California and I was literally practicing like a couple hours a day while on vacation
We were like,
in
dude,
California.
go enjoy your vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I was practicing probably like 10, 16 hours a week at one point to like kind of just get the material down and, learn a whole different way of playing. So it's like, I put in all that work and then now it's like, okay, it's kind of like second nature now. Now it's just like maintaining that kind of thing. But I feel like, what got me there was literally just, insane work ethic, a little bit of OCD, that kind of thing.
I know exactly what you mean, because that is the kind of attitude that I think thrives most in the arts, especially because, and this is, I think, a product of age now as well. I feel like the romanticization of the like tortured, temperamental artist type is going away, and I'm very happy about that, because I will take someone who wants to be there and is maybe not the best, but is going to work to get there, than somebody who's very talented who makes my stomach hurt when I talk to them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Because
yeah,
because you're going to have like a better time doing all of this hard work, because again, the miracle of getting to the stage, you're gonna have a better time doing all of this hard work by having someone who wants to be there. The other thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately as well, especially I think in my kind of some thoughts on society, and this is where I think music I think is there still to try to fill this void as much as it can. I think there's lack of community in a lot of people's lives in 2025. I think there's people are more isolated. So I think the musicians and the bands that do well are great of creating that sense of community around their music. And I think, and I especially think, you guys do that very well, and I also think punk rock does that very well.
Oh yeah, for sure,
definitely. That's so important. And some of our another band we play a lot with, My Cousin's Girlfriend's House. Very,
I know
very good
them
at that as well.
They are very good at that. Yes, bless those guys.
They're like the nicest dudes ever.
Oh, fantastic! I love them. Have you heard this band called Millington?
Yes.
Yes, haven't listened to them though. The only part of them that I've listened to, I think specifically, is on the Midfield album, their collab track that they did with them.
I love them. I haven't had Cody on yet, but I really want to, because not only, again, bass players, but he also is. I think he's like pretty like well versed in Japanese, and that's a reoccurring theme on the show as well. Is my love of Japanese culture and Japanese bands. They're super great. And they have an entire like ska emo cover EP. So you should probably start there. So
Okay.
The other thing I want to, I think we've talked about this in the past as well, but something else that I want to ask you guys as well, because we're talking about the Super Bowls coming up here, and that got me. I've sort of been thinking about Philadelphia a little bit over the last few weeks. What do you think? What is the like X? What do you think is the X factor for the city of Philadelphia and its art scene that makes it what it is to you? Because there's something special going on down in that city that, quite frankly, I want to bring a little bit up to New York. There's that special something that your city has.
Ooh, I've got an answer for this for sure.
Okay.
I feel like it's diversity. Like, I feel like it's just the diversity in music and the diversity in good music that makes, like, Philadelphia and the Philadelphia area, like, such a cool music scene, because you can, like, go down to South Street and listen to some jazz. You can, like, go to the TLA, listen to some, like, alternative, like, hardcore, like, pop punk. Like, I just feel like what separates the scene from other scenes is just that diversity. Like, for example, you think of, like, another big music city like Nashville. You're thinking a lot of country, bluegrass, maybe some blues in there, right? Whereas, like, the Philly area, I feel like, just has a lot more diversity in genres than a lot of other big music cities. And it's just because of that, it just makes it like such a cool and unique experience being in the area, being able to like experience all that, have all these opportunities to be exposed to so many like great bands and legends in their own right, like within this area from just a variety of different genres.
I think it's that, and then like also since we were talking about the Eagles before the podcast started, Philadelphia's always had this like kind of can-do attitude. Like I said, like in 2018 when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, there was this huge just underdog attitude because it was like we had a chance like based on the season that we had.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies is Rocky, which is based out of Philly. The Eagles use that as a motif like all the time, and I think that sort of message that there's just this underdog attitude that Philadelphia has always seemed to have. Like it kind of translates to like a can-do attitude in a way. Like because in the music scene, in the Philly music scene, there's shows like I know Dick just mentioned Nashville. I'm sure I've heard there's shows like going on constantly, like at any given restaurant, any given bar, on any given night.
Yeah.
Philly, I feel like it might be less promoted in a way, but I feel like there's just as much there for sure. Like it has a great DIY scene. It has a great like selection of music venues where mainstream stuff is playing and stuff. It's really and to Dick's point too, it's really diverse. Like a lot of people are like put a lot of energy into it too.
Yeah. Also, Invincible, that movie about Vince Papale, another great Philly story of a underdog, but. Yeah, Dick is definitely correct about the diversity of genres, but that the grit, I think, also plays a factor as well.
Certainly, there's a certain level of I'm going to show you kind of attitude, and I think in the arts as well, especially when you come out of a city like Philadelphia, that I think. The elites of New York or Boston, like, oh, we're so great. So when you have this sort of like collective sort of like disrespect, I think I think that kind of bonds you together even more. Does that resonate at all?
That's probably the best description of Philadelphia I've ever
Yep.
No, I've seen it because like before we got on here, I was telling you about how I went down to see Rancid in Philadelphia. The crowd in Philly was so much better than the crowd at the show in New York. Like people were like really needed this show. Like people were excited to be there. Rancid got so much of a better response in Philadelphia than they did in New York. And it was pouring down rain, so the Lindas didn't even get to play. It was like a shitty cold day, and I'm still there with my water ice because I'm in Philadelphia getting the damn water ice.
Oh yeah.
And there was just this real sort of like collective sort of like excising of the week from during the show. Like I could just feel how happy everyone was to be there.
You got to go to a Wonder Years show in Philly. That shit's crazy.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh my dude. Oh my God. Yeah, that's probably the best example of like a hometown band in the hometown than I can think of. That's the punk rock seeing Springsteen in Jersey.
Yeah.
Although I have seen the Gaslight Anthem in Jersey as well. That was pretty on point that was pretty great as well. But so I want to get into this EP because before we got on here, I want to trace the sort of like the conception of it, because this is 4 songs that I think show a real style, like the depth of your sound and songwriting is really noticeable across these 4 songs. The EP is called Finding Closure. Again, heavy, especially because I know the very real world loss that you guys have dealt with to get to this EP. I could feel the weight in a lot of the songs. So my question to kind of start this, and maybe Matt, this might be one for you. When did can you take me through like the conception of this EP? Like what was going on in the band and in your life when these songs first started coming together?
Ooh, when the songs first started coming together. So
Yeah.
Dean passed in July of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Dick joined the band officially. We'd announced it in October of 2023, and then from then on, the goal was to get him acquainted with, like, I don't want to toot our own horn, but it's like we're trying to be like an up and coming band. Like we have to be on the same page. We're gonna play a lot of shows. We have a lot of people watching us and stuff, and like let's acquaint everybody with you as a new bass player. So we played a shit ton of shows between November of 2023 and June before going into the studio. We booked the studio way ahead of time. Like I think Gary only had July availability, like as far out back as like January. So we went into 2024 like, okay, halfway through the year we're gonna record new music. We had demos and like bits and pieces of songs left over from like other stuff. And we're gonna make some type of record out of this. Like we'll hunker down at some point when we're all ready to, and then we'll just write. And the first like 4 months of the year, we didn't do shit with it. We're like, okay, there's studio time coming up, but like, you know, we're busy focused on shows and stuff. The starting point for that, there wasn't really like Finding Closure was what came out of the whole thing at the very end of the process. Like we didn't know what the EP was going to be called when we were done with it. I want to say all the source material is stuff that had happened prior to the beginning of writing it. Right. Mm-hmm. So, actually that's not true. I'll start in April when like,
this everything is April going 2024?
Well, 2024. Yeah.
Okay.
The single, Everything Going Well, I had to look back into my lyric book because I'm like, okay, I have like an idea for something, but I don't know what to put it to.
Uh-huh.
So I went back and looked at my lyric book, and we can discuss the song like as we go along. But like, after finding essentially what was the hook of the song that I had written down from like a couple years ago, like around the time that we were finishing recording Nonfiction, actually, I was like, you know what? This whole situation is something that I felt strongly about and took me so long to get over that I can't ignore it, and this has to go on the record.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a lot of the Menzingers at the time, and just that line in and of itself to me sounded very Menzingers like, and I'm like, okay, let's go back through my normal writing process, even though I haven't written in a while, like, of just kind of telling a story chronologically. So that song, I had the structure and stuff and like a demo for it like 4 days after I started writing it. And then that was the starting point. A lot of the other stuff for it was stuff that we had left over. One of the songs on there, which we can get into, that Dick actually wrote, is something that we built along the way leading up to studio time, which we actually had a fifth song that we had been sitting on too, and we thought that was going to be one of the next things we recorded after the Lowdown. Like, I think that was supposed to be like the B side of the Lowdown, but we didn't put like any of our energy into it at the time. We went into studio, like leading up to studio week, with 5 songs, and we cut that one because it didn't fit with the other 4, and it wasn't done yet. And like, it's something that Dev wrote. I love the chorus and the way that it sounds, but it's just like I wanted him to finish it. I think we all wanted him to finish it because like he was speaking from the heart in the chorus and stuff like that. And it's like, if it's not going to be there, just don't worry about it. Let's focus on 4 songs and like use our time wisely.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Especially like when you're like going into the studio, like there's that clock in the back of your head, like literally just like focus in on like what's really ready. So Dick, you have like this gauntlet of shows to run through up into the studio, and then you start contribute songs. What was so you get up to speed on the set list, and then you're like sort of like into the like baptism of the live show going up to the studio. What was that experience like? Trial by fire or slightly different?
Definitely trial by fire. The whole experience is like having your fight or flight engaged at the whole time. Like, oh my God. Yeah, it was tough, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was a tough time. It was a fun time, and you know how life is. It's like, sometimes you're like, man, I don't feel like doing this, and then other times you're like, hell yeah. But yeah, it was just really a trial by fire. It was a lot of work that I had to put in, that Matt had to put in, that the whole band had to put in. So it was just, it was the best way I can describe it is it was like having a second job. You've got this band that's well established, that's got some great material, that kind of thing. Trying to integrate yourself, so it's like there's a lot of rapport building that goes into it. There's a lot of like figuring out what the guys like musically and then what I like musically. Figuring out how to like make all of that mesh and work. So it was just like a lot of like, just nose to the grindstone. Just get her done.
Yeah, I can also imagine the dual process of learning songs that the band has been playing and then contributing to new material, like the 2 different hats of like learn the songs for the show and then write bass lines for new songs and figure out how these new songs go along the way.
Yeah, no, that was definitely like a experience we just kind of had to work through because, stylistically, I play a lot more like single note, like spaced out stuff with a groove to it. Usually, so like trying to like then like learn all this stuff that just like, like I wasn't really listening to a whole lot of pop punk before I joined ASG. So trying to learn this stuff that like isn't necessarily like what I'm used to playing stylistically, but also like trying to like integrate the stuff that I like and I enjoy into the material was definitely like, it took a lot of time and it, just took like work on everybody's part to figure that out.
Yeah, and we all kind of got to watch Dick grow a lot during those shows, right?
Yeah.
And learning all the material, and then I remember going up into the studio, like the rest of us had kind of gotten our butts kicked the first time we did our full length for nonfiction by Nick at Gradwell House.
Yeah.
And he kind of gave us like the recording experience, right?
Right.
And I remember thinking, I'm like, I want to tell Dick like the things that suck about it and the things that are great about it, and like all, but I'm like, I feel like it's not like he just has to experience it and then he'll get it, you know?
Yeah.
And he did a really nice job of coming in, because and I did the same thing, you know. I'm sure we all did. You come in thinking that, okay, I know the song, I'm going to play the song like I know the song, that's it. But it's not. It's the producer goes, wait, actually, let's do this here. Oh, let's do this here. Oh, you got to remember this change. Oh, hey, you played the old version again? Make sure you play the new version now, right?
Yeah.
And we got to watch Dick go through that too, and he just took every like challenge and just like took it head on and did a really nice job of putting everything together in the studio. And I wrote some stupid drum parts that didn't make it very easy for him either, so that was that was an extra challenge. And he you know, we watched him grow up to that point, but then I remember him saying at some point like, okay, I get it now, you know, like I'm locking in.
Oh, that's amazing. It's like a real speed run of like the recording experience, because I always like I just, when you're talking about, when you started doing that monologue just now, Joe, I had a lot of PTSD flashbacks to some studio sessions. It was like I could just hear the click in my headphones all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. It's stressful. It really is.
It really, yeah, because like in the studio, you're like under the microscope, and if you're trying to like do a really polished sounding recording like you grew up listening to, because it's so easy to want to like just, it's good enough, but then it just feels like you're every day like live in the studio kind of session. It's not, doesn't have that sort of like special, again, I hate using this, I sound like Simon Cowell saying this, but there's that sort of like that special sauce. It's sort of like the it factor that that separates like a recording from like a really unique recording, for sure. Joe, let me ask you this, because drums are still a mystery to me in terms of the songwriting process. So I'm curious, and maybe there's a specific example on one of the songs, and then I want to dive into some of these a little bit more closely. When Matt comes to you, is it often that Matt comes to you with an idea and then you work on the drum parts to the demo? Is that usually how you come up with drum parts for songs?
Pretty much, yeah. Matt will scratch like the guitars and the vocals and send it over. Sometimes he'll have notes, you know, like, hey, during this section I want this. During this section I want this. There's a really cool part that ended up coming out in the lowdown where Matt was like, I want Tom's like this, like the verse of Jamie All Over. Something like that.
Okay.
And I ended up, you know, I was like, okay, great. I just have something to work from. And we came up with something kind of cool there. But I think a lot of the focus for me, especially, and this is kind of matched with what our producer, Gary Sione, likes to do, which is really awesome. I like to line drums up with like what else is happening in the song, you know, like catch the guitar licks and play off of the vocal melodies and the rhythms and stuff like that. And I feel like I thought I liked that. And then we worked with Gary for the first time, and I was like, oh, that's the level that we can take this to. And he kind of introduced me to that. So, you know, working with him on the lowdown kind of got me up to speed on that. And then in this record, I was really able to, Everything Going Well is the one I'm the most proud of. We had a lot of fun stuff in the verses there that I'm like, ooh, a little vocal melody that I'm going to put down the toms, or that I'm going to put into the hi-hat right here, and fun stuff like that to just, and then of course there's the driving chorus parts where you just have to rock out. But Gary's been really helpful with that stuff, especially, and I just enjoy listening to songs with drums like that, you know. So if I'm gonna be responsible for the drum part, then I'm gonna write stuff like that, you know.
No, for sure. Like really, like the drum parts like accentuate like the emotion of the chorus and that song, because the chorus is just this like big sort of like, again, I keep using the word that keeps coming to me is weight, and like that comes during that chorus, while Matt is just like thinking back on this situation on this situation. Like it really, it's almost like the drums are replicating like the racing of the heart. Because I don't know about like you, Joe or Matt, but like when you're in the process of like a relationship falling apart, and there's that sort of like that fight or flight that keeps going, and you're just like, please make this stop. This can't be happening. Like, especially like when I was younger, I got that way a lot. So listening to that, I was not only feeling for you in lyrically, but the drums like really took me emotionally to that feeling. And then the realization of like, oh shit, that's what that was.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Matt wrote a killer song. I just put some fun loud drums underneath of it. But yes, I love that interpretation.
I thought the standout drum on the record was Empty Hearts. We were listening to that while you were recording it, because like Gary will do like full takes, full runs of songs, and like just like goddamn, he's killing it in there.
Yeah. Oh my God. He did such a great job on that song.
I appreciate that. There were some really good spots in there for like drum forward moments, and they don't happen a lot. So when they do happen, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, big drum fill here. There we go. And then of course, it took me like 10 takes to get half decent big drum fill.
Right.
Like you said, under the microscope. It was a good time. It's like, wait, give me like two. I will get it this time. I got this.
Yeah, I find myself in the studio when I'm playing bass, like maybe this can be a little bit more simpler than I play it live.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious, Joe, when it comes to drums, is there a music genre outside of like punk rock that you find yourself incorporating into your drum parts a lot? Is there any like outside the genre influences that you find helpful?
That's a great question. The two that I think stand out to me, well, first of all, I'm a big Paramore fan. So like the alternative rock sort of drumming is something that I grew up on, right? But then I actually play a lot of musical theater stuff for local high schools where I live.
I've seen this on your Facebook. I love this.
Yeah. I love playing. There's so many great soundtracks. Like a good rock musical soundtrack has like, lining stuff up with the vocals and really good like musical and fun and good drumming a lot of times too, there's been a lot of great posts recently about how great the drumming in Wicked is. Like nobody knew that, but now it became a musical or it became a movie, and now everyone's like, wow, such good drum. Yeah, they're really awesome. So I feel like that's influenced a lot of what I do as well.
Oh, that's totally true. I'm so glad you bring up Wicked, because another musical element of that show, especially that gets me every time, is like fast arpeggios of piano over like really those fast beats. Like the drums in Defying Gravity, like when she hits that, like when she finally hits that like huge note, I weep every single time.
Oh yeah, me too. It's so good.
Yeah, it's that, and it's the song, the vocal melody in Another Day from Rent. Do you know the song I'm talking about? Like when Roger's like still antisocial and all of his friends are singing out the window to him and he's just like, let me be. That melody.
Yeah, that one's, I don't know that show as well, but I'll definitely go listen to that now.
That's one of my favorite shows. It hit me. I saw it in Korean last year, and and it still hit me the same way, even though I can't speak Korean.
Music's just that powerful.
It really is. It is this. It really is. It is so powerful. Some people's lives. Artists should get paid more. Chappell Roan is my hero from the Grammys.
That was a great speech. It was.
I thought that was like the most punk rock speech the Grammys has had in a long time. I loved everything about that.
Yes, very, very 100%. Selfless, for sure.
100%. Let me I also want to ask you about the writing of the song "Hey Crabman" and the incorporating of my name is Earl into the theme of this song. So Can you take me through like the conception of Crabman, Matt?
This is Devin's song, so I'll try to speak to it as best as I can.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm so sorry.
All Devin.
Yeah, we could still talk about it. So I want to say for that song, instrumentally, before we started writing it, I think Dev just had the title for it, because like that's something we'll do a lot too. Like we'll be like kind of like open-ended prompt songs, and that's where they start. Like we'll be like, I have a song that, like for example, our song TJ Eckelberg. I want to call a song TJ Eckelberg isn't even a doctor, and it'll be about how bystanders like aren't helpful or some, like that's not even the theme of the song, but like just like as an example, we'll start songs off like that where we have the title and we know what we know what we want them to be about. So Dev just had the octave lines and just the title going into it, and that's a song that we basically started and put together in July leading up to the studio. When we did, before we even started like tracking everything for it, he sat me and Dick down and we watched the pilot episode of My Name Is Earl, just so we could get the vibe for it. And then when we were in the studio, since we stayed there overnight a few nights, we were just watching it till like 2 a.m.
Yeah,
nice,
he had to show us all. It was great.
Yeah. Conceptually, it's just about basically living your best life, responding to things in the best way possible. Like good karma will like eliminate the bad karma. Like, if you'd be a good person. I feel like that's something that personally to me, I've like kind of felt that more as an adult. It's just better to have like peace of mind and stuff than cause conflict. Around the time that we were working on it, somebody in my building actually like, for some reason, even though there was like multiple parking spots open, they like yelled at me for being on my phone or something and not pulling out of the space that I was in at the time. And I remember who it was. And then sometime later, that same person was like in my hallway moving a lot of stuff, and a lot of the stuff fell, and they were like so upset by it. And I'm like, in my head, I'm just thinking, because we just started working on the song at the time, I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to help this person because I feel like it would just be better. Like, I'm not going to just be that guy to just walk down the elevator and just be like, oh, that's their problem type thing. Like I have time. I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, I don't know, just the fact that we were working on the song at the time, that kind of just like resonated with me more. And that's part of also the reason why we like made it the opening track. It seems like starting on a high note.
Yeah.
Like each of the songs bring their own closure to like some sort of thing. This is kind of like a general statement of just like, you can bring closure to any situation just by responding to it well. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely. Because the change in response, to me, it's not unlike like when you're watching like a good TV show or movie and you see a character's response to a certain situation change over the course of the movie or the book. To me, the closure is the handling of the situation differently, but and
yes.
in most cases better than you did previously. I've been the YouTube algorithm's been sending me Green Book shorts a lot lately, so that's been on my mind a lot because Viggo Mortensen at the beginning of that reacts very differently after by the end of the movie. He's as open-minded as he can be by the end of that movie. So that really resonates with me, along with this whole like each of the songs is sort of like about finding a way to better handle a rough situation. And because we've talked about it a little bit, the other song that I feel like you guys personally probably had a lot to wrap your head around is Dean's passing, and the song Survivor's Guilt, of which you is very much about that. When I read the title, I was like, I know who that's about. So, and answer this however you want. Like I'm not expecting anybody to cry on this podcast, but take me through how the organizing of maybe your feelings and thoughts and how you get from the grief of loss of your friend and bandmate into a place where you can write a song about it?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I will say the first part of it about like organizing my thoughts and stuff. A couple things about the lyrics. Those were probably like the third or fourth iteration of just full lyrics in general for that song, because I had so much other stuff to say that just like it at first it seemed forced. Otherwise, it just seemed like it just wasn't working. Devin had some lyrics that he wanted in the song at first, and then I kind of like blew him off because it didn't like he sent me them like, oh, these are good, and he's like, oh, these should be the lyrics for the second verse, and it was just kind of like I have my like later it just became I have my own thing. Sorry, but it's like part of that is just because we grieve in different ways, I think.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed when writing the song is I usually do so like everything going well is kind of the opposite of this. Like I figured with this EP, there's two ways. I learned from this EP, there's two ways that I write songs, and I think there's just in general two ways that there are to write songs. I've always approached them the first way. First, the kind of storytelling aspect where it's like Springsteen does this all the time, where it's like verse 1 is how the story starts. The chorus is what the song is about, what the story is. Verse 2 is where the story continues. It continues in the bridge. The chorus just tells you what the song's about. And then the other way is just throwing your feelings on paper. The first way, I tried to write this song that way like 3 different times. And we had the instrumental done because this is something that I think I came up with around the time that the Lowdown dropped. And it was just like, to me personally, like Survivor's Guild, basically like how it starts out, July 12th will always be worse to me than like the day that we found out that Dean passed, because that was the last time that me and Dev saw him. Yeah. So I tried to start the song from that point. It still starts from that point, but before the lyrics I got all of them done, and I was just like, I scrapped them. And then at some point, I think it was because I had too many words in the chorus. And Dev was like, you know what? The melody shouldn't be this. It should be this. And then once it was like that, the chorus was established of like, oh, cut all these words out and just keep this part of it. Then the rest of the song for me just wrote itself. And like, literally I had like nothing. And then like an hour later, the entire song was done essentially. Like it just came out naturally.
It's funny how that works sometimes.
Yeah. A lot of like the grieving process and stuff, like getting used to like doing band stuff again. The last time we were on the podcast, we were talking about the Lowdown and like it being new, right? That was after 6 weeks of a break, and during that 6 weeks, like towards the end, it was like, nah, we can't. We have to keep going. Like that, there was just some like we did lose Dean, but there was some like sort of like fulfillment that just wasn't there on us deciding to like stop. But even still, a lot of like it. I'm trying to think, because it's like getting comfortable with the idea of just being able to like talk about it. I feel like for me, like it was easier for me to start talking about it to people, like, and that's how I kind of like. I'll never get over it, but it's like kind of how I got over it. I kept going to shows like even in the following weeks, and like at first it was like helpful, but then after a while you kind of start feeling like one of the lyrics that I had that I scrapped was "I'm no guest of honor" kind of thing. Would go to shows months later and be like, "Oh, you're the guy from All Systems Go, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm so sorry for your loss." It's just like I'm tired of hearing it at that point. I've heard it like 500 times already. Like can't go to a show without that popping up. But like I don't know, the way I got sort of like more comfortable with just the idea, like accepting it, I guess, is just talking to people, because we all like. I found out that a lot of friends of ours like have had their own experiences with like similar types of stuff, and everybody grieves differently.
Yeah, it was definitely like for us too. We did take a little bit of a break. At Dean's funeral, we had a lot of support. A lot of the scene showed up, which was awesome. We really have. We're very lucky to have a great people around us in the music scene. But the question that kept coming up was like, "Oh, this is gonna make its way into some of your new music, right?" And it was kind of like. It was kind of like we heard that so much, and it was like I mean, yeah, but like not yet. Like we just can't to just jump right
Yes.
in there without Dean was just. Matt said we all grieve differently, and we do, but I think that was kind of a consensus. It was like we had all these gigs planned, there was so much expectation, and then that happened, and we were like, okay, we need to take a step back a little bit, take a little bit of time for ourselves to, process and accept. But then, like Matt said, definitely became clear that it was like, okay, we took our time. We got to keep this moving. We got to keep honoring Dean's legacy and his contribution to the band.
Yes.
And just keep things rolling. And of course, Finding Closure came out of it eventually, and we're glad that it did. But man, it was a tough process.
For sure.
Yeah, I distinctly remember practicing for the first time. It was in, I think, October, because our first gig back was in November. And I was literally in tears by the time I finished practicing Don't Let Me Go. Like, practicing it again by myself was very difficult, So
I do, because it's those little things that like kind of remind you that it's real, because like sometimes I think the brain, like, almost in a response to trauma like that, tries to numb you and tries to make it seem like it's not really happening, and then it eventually has to sink in. And something I've an idea that really stuck to me in terms of grief and loss is that like it's always there, but like when it happens, like your life is like maybe like this size, and then as you, by continuing on, it grows, and so it's still there, but it just doesn't take up everything the same way that it does.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, good on you guys for being like, not only recognizing what you need, but by, again, I said this the last time too. We were talking about the lowdown. Is the band, I think, now in a way exists. Its continuation is honoring Dean's memory for sure.
Definitely. That's the least we can do. Then we're happy to do that.
No, absolutely. And the songs are just. The songs are too good, and what you've got to express is a feeling that a lot of people, I think, are gonna relate to on this EP, for sure. So I'm glad that it exists, and I'm glad that it's coming out. And when is it coming out?
So the whole EP is coming out on February 19th.
Cool.
Depending when this talk comes out, it'll either be right after or right before or something like that. So it'll either already be out or out soon.
Cool. February 19th.
We're not doing any more singles. It's just going to be the rest of the record.
Nice. Cool. And are there shows on the books for post release?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're doing a mini tour of. There's supposed to be 4 shows, but one fell through. That's totally fine. As it usually does. South Jersey, Baltimore, and Washington D.C. And on all 3 shows, we got us, my cousin's girlfriend's house, and Statements.
Oh, I know Statements.
And then a couple of other friends throughout the whole run too.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Where are you playing in Baltimore?
It's called Zissimo's Bar.
I know that name, but I haven't played there yet. I lived in Baltimore for a while. During
what is it? Feed the Scene is hosting the show.
Oh yeah, I know them. I reached out to them because I want to Skip Lag to play Baltimore sometime this year.
Yeah, it's in like the Hamden neighborhood of Baltimore, which is like their equivalent of like Manayunk and like South Street type vibe. Like we were hanging around there before a Baltimore show at the beginning of last year. It's a pretty cool area. Yeah,
Hamden is like the I used to call it like the Williamsburg, like the hipstery part of Baltimore. I did a lot of comedy at the Golden West Cafe right after college. And then gorged myself on Elvis pancakes. So I've always I got this sick Atomic Books is another place to check out in that area. I don't have it anymore, but I had this the flag of Maryland, but it was the Black Flag logo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I like Baltimore a lot. One more question: when are you coming to New York? When are we going to play together?
It's a great question.
I'm sure whenever we can fit in the going north run that we usually do, like we've done it twice now, Connecticut, New York, Boston, Jersey type thing.
Nice. Where do you play? Where have you played in New York when you come through?
Past few have been at Rockwood Music Hall, even though they're no longer in business, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
That was Dick's third show with us, I think. We were not expecting it because the show that we had was like billed as a 3-band bill starting at 10 o'clock and ending at midnight. But like the room's so small, so when we played, it was literally like shoulder to shoulder, all the tables full, all the way to the back of the room, like 50 people crammed in there. It was awesome. Yeah, New York's hard to get into for like venues. Like I've reached out to venues that we played before. I think I said this on the podcast last time where I tried booking us a show. Actually, I think we did talk about this exact same run that I just mentioned with that show.
Yeah, I think we did.
We sold like the show itself in 100 cap rooms sold like 65 tickets or something like that, and the promoters were like, "No, you have to do better. We're not going to give you the show date." Like, okay, what are you going to fill it with then? I guess. Do you want a sold out? Like, I don't know if we'll be able to sell the show out, but like, is that what you need from us? Like, I don't know. It's tough.
No, it certainly is. Well, I might have a friend who could probably get you a spot. It would be like it'd be like a real DIY punk rock kind of thing, but the vibes would be absolutely on point. So
that's totally cool with us.
So we can.
Those are always the best shows.
We played lots of those venues.
Okay, fantastic. So we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk after this here. Dudes, pleasure as always. We have never met in person, but I feel like we're good friends after all this time we've spent talking about music together. So I appreciate you guys again for being here. Where can people find more about the band if they want to know more?
Our social media handles on any platform is at All Systems Go NJ, all one word. Look for the logo of Spanky the Sparrow with the blue background.
Nice.
On the socials.
Very cool.
And all of our music is on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, anywhere you stream music. Yeah, don't confuse us with the other All Systems Go because they haven't been around for over a decade now. So the All Systems Go without the exclamation point is us.
We have no exclamation point.
Got no exclamation point, but your music is very exclamation point. I'll say. Does your bird logo have an Eagles themed? I feel like you've done that in the past. Have you done like a green and?
We have.
Oh, okay, nice.
Matt shared it every single weekend or every single day of a game before the 2017 Super Bowl.
I've only shared it a couple times before this one, so hopefully this still has the same. We should make it our profile picture or whatever for the on our socials
for the actual day. Yeah. Well, dudes, pleasure as always, and as someone who is a little more neutral when it comes to the NFL, if you guys have a good Sunday, then I'll be happy for you. So I'll say go Birds for you guys on the podcast here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Go Birds!
I think that's a great way to end. Thank you, guys. Very fun to listen to that back now, a few weeks removed from the discourse around both the performance of the Kansas City Chiefs as well as the discourse around Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance. So happy for all my friends in All Systems Go for their Super Bowl win. As someone who's very much just caring about soccer and occasionally baseball during the Mets season. And my new favorite team, the Yakult Swallows from Tokyo, got a hat from them in Japan. Very excited to see my friends' football teams do well. So thank you all again so much for being here. All Systems Go's new EP, Finding Closure, is available everywhere you get your music. So go stream it, go check it out. There will be links to in the description as well. If you enjoyed this podcast and think you know a friend who would be interested in it as well, you guys are my biggest supporters in helping us please our almighty algorithmic overlords. If you want to leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or your podcast player of choice, that would severely help out the show. I would appreciate it immensely. And if you want to share this with a friend, I would greatly appreciate it as well. You can send them to awesomedisaster.com. You can follow me on Instagram, willcarry23, and you can follow me at Will Carry on Blue Sky. I'm the first Will Carry on Blue Sky, so excited about that. You can check me out there as well. And if you want to go a little bit further in your support of the show, you can check out our merch store as well as our Patreon, also over at awesomedisaster.com. I have been doing this podcast for, 9 years now. I have been doing this podcast off and on, and I know it has been more off these last few weeks. I hit a wall, but I am determined to break through that wall, and I appreciate all of you still being here after all this time. And also, if you're in the New York City area, June 7th, Skip Lag will be playing with Something About Ghosts, Hopeless Otis, and Suburban Surf Club at Pianos in the Lower East Side. Tickets can be gotten at the link in the description. It would help me out a great deal if you guys can buy early and often. So thank you all again so much for your support. It means a lot to me to continue to do these things, make things, and have people interact with it. And I'll see you next time between Awesome and Disaster. Take care, everybody.